Hello, all. Welcome back to Not Just Lessons from Our Animals podcast. I am Emma. I am an animal communicator, healer, and teacher. I am a guide for humans coming back to their authentic, true selves. I am a messenger for Mama G and a divine conduit for the divine. And maybe you've noticed I've settled on a new name and I kind of love it because I loved lessons from our animals as the title before, and we just made a little tweak of expanding. And so same but different, not just lessons from our animals. So today though, we do have a lesson from an animal. Uh, and this came so recently I concluded a pop-up. So I'm doing way more pop-up, different types of readings and things. It just feels more fun to kind of mix things up and go where the energy is feeling the most potent for me and collectively. And so one of those pop-ups were Beyond the Veil readings for animals. So as it maybe sounds, they were readings for animals who have passed on, who are beyond the veil, who are in spirit, who are no longer in physical body. And there were so many potent messages that came through. And it's always so fun. I mean, it's always so fun to connect in with animals in general because you learn so much. And actually, this message, and then there's another one that's going to be coming through pretty soon that, excuse me, I'm moving on energy that are messages that and lessons and teachings that are very clear and obvious once they're said. However, there's things that we just like don't really think about until we think about them or until somebody says them. And both of these are really messages along those lines. And um, so I'm really excited to share them with you. So this message came from a guinea pig, actually, that is obviously beyond the veil. And it was a really this message feels so important because it spans species. So it's not only for guinea pigs or it's not only for animals who maybe live indoors. It's something that feels really important for all of us to think about whenever we're bringing an animal or a being into our lives. So that can be a human into our life as well, right? Because we're the same species, we tend to assume things, right? Like, well, my assumption is based off my own experience is XYZ, and therefore, sometimes we can be more in tune. Although, if you know me at all, I don't love assuming. I don't love creating expectations when we're not on the same page. I'll probably make that another episode because it's so important. So today the guinea pig's name is Elmer, and maybe we'll just like start off with the message and then we can kind of just go from there. So this, I'm gonna just start reading what he was saying amidst, some other things, but we will get to where we are going, and I think we will be very clear. All right, so this is him speaking now. I am happy to be among others who are working through the same lessons as me, and it isn't just me. It isn't just me going through the ups and downs of a physical life without control over one's life in any way. That is hard. It is so hard to have such a life and others expect you to love it, cherish that life. It can be boring as hell at times, lonely almost all the time, and also great and joyful at other times. I would really love for others to be really mindful when they have a being in their care that they are making all the decisions for. That is a big responsibility you are probably not taking seriously enough. You have probably accepted truths that aren't even truths. They are just things others have decided are true, and the rest of the world just goes along with it. So if you're taking over the care of another being and making almost all of their decisions, you need to take it more serious and you need to start to include them on the decisions that you are making. So, right, like that is such a big and potent message because, right, how many decisions do we make on behalf of our animals and even our human children, right? That they don't get really a say in, or they don't get to be given options of what is best for them, or have the conversation of, what is it that makes you feel really fulfilled? Like, what is your mission here? What are your desires? What do you love? What do you not love? What are your likes? What are your dislikes, right? That we're not necessarily taking the time to do that because nobody's told us to, right? That's not the norm. The norm is whatever the norm is for whatever the species is, right? And of course, there can be nuances within that. But, I think so. If I think like guinea pig, right? I'm thinking, I mean, it can be so many things, right? But likely there's some kind of enclosure cage situation that they spend a large-ish amount of their life in. And is that does that place feel good to them, right? Like what's the energy of that space? How do they like to spend their time when they're in that space? How can we make it more fun or exciting or inviting for them? Do they like to be there at certain times of the day, right? Like these are things that we can start to kind of go into to ask and to understand so that we can support them in being and having the life that they are meant to have, want to have, that maybe we want to be giving to them, right? I have met so many guardians of animals that are like, I just want to know how to make your life the best possible. And sometimes it's like the animal's like, I don't feel like you understand. You understand who I am because you're saying you want to do this. And yet, there are these like big aspects of life that are going what's the word? Gosh, not unadjusted, but just like not looked into, not supported, not explored in any way, right? And so I think of horses, right? Especially horses who naturally are meant to be moving and eating throughout the day, right? Movement is a really big part of their genetic makeup, as well as the way that they digest and eat and all the things, grazing and different types of grazing and, moving and different types of terrain and like all these things, right? And yes, I understand that domestic horses are not the same as wild horses that are used to moving 10, 20, 30, 100 miles a day. And that still is part of their makeup. Just like for humans, we don't move, 20, 30 miles a day either. However, we still have that component within us that says movement is crucial to our life, right? And so that movement likely looks different. However, movement is still important. And the type of movement is also important because, right, not just any movement is going to feel good to you as a human. If you are somebody who really loves like circuit workouts and moving your body in that capacity, then going for a long walk or doing yoga is likely not going to fulfill that movement kind of capacity within you, right? So, same thing if we look at horses, right? And how often are horses in small areas that don't necessarily allow and or support a lot of movement, right? If they're in a smaller enclosure, it's like a track, right? And not everybody loves moving around. And I'm speaking like a human track, like track and field, the oval situation. Not everybody enjoys running on a track, right? Going in circles over and over and over again, and then the just the same look, the same thing all the time. The same thing goes for horses, right? They might have a movement need. However, if they're in a small area that, yeah, they can move in, but like if it's not very fun for them, or there's not like anything to truly move to, or whatever the case may be, like, is that actually fulfilling something for them because the capacity for it and actually like it being something that's being used or supported or whatever are two different things, right? You can have the capacity for movement, and yet if they're not moving, then there's a dissonance there that then we get to ask, why aren't you moving? What about this is not a good thing for you or is not like not wanting an inspiring movement for you, right? And then we can go into food and we can go into different things. And so it's it's this I love this message so much because I've learned this so many different ways at so many different moments with my own animals in different capacities for what they're needing. And of saying like, wait, who am I? Who am I to make all these decisions for you? Like, who am I to say, no, you like have to do this or you only get that? It's more of, wait, where's the partnership? Where's the connection? Where is this place where we can come together and we can say like, okay, what is it that you want? What is it that I can provide? How can we meet in the middle? How can we come together and create something that suits us all? Right? Because yeah, there are some things where I'm like, Ranger, like this, like you're only gonna get this kind of food. So like that's never been an issue for him. But like say he was like, but I would love this. It's like, okay, well, that's not going to be an option for all of these reasons, right? Like I'm going to explain that this is why I've made this decision for us. And here's how we could maybe incorporate something like that in a different way. And how does that feel? Right. And so, like, if I'm talking to my horses, and I mean, Jazz, since before I got her, has always been like, I want space, I want space, I want space. And each place she's gone to is essentially, for the most part, ish, has been more and more space for her. And yet, it's not what she wants. She's not necessarily super thrilled by her environment. And so the conversation continues of like, how can I support you in this situation until we're able to get to something different? And right, like, so I'm not saying you have to do whatever they say because that's not a relationship either. It's saying, what is it? Maybe it's saying, I have never asked you this. What do you need to be supported? How do you like to eat? How do you like to move? How do you like to use your energy? Right? I can't tell you how many dogs I've communicated with that the way they like to use their energy is not necessarily through movement. And it's not that they don't want to move, it's that they actually get a majority of their energy out through using their brain, right? Or using their nose, which is also still using their brain. But like, right, instead of like solving something, it's scent work or it's agility training, right? It's the movement with the brain work, right? It's like it's not just one thing, right? It's not, oh, let's go play fetch. And it's like, well, not every dog loves fetch. And like fetch is also it's a whole conversation in itself. And how often do we ask what is it that you need, right? Ranger loves going for walks. However, the type and environment of that walk is also really important to him. Going for a walk in the city, not his jam. Not really going to get the energy out and the fulfillment in that movement the same way as going for a walk in the forest with just us. So, right, it's again, it's this conversation. It's this not assuming, well, this is what the pet store said or this is what the rescue said and therefore it's the truth. It's saying, "Okay, great. I can take that on board and I also get to converse with my animal and to understand what it is that they want and what they need, right? In the same, again, same thing can go for your human children. I just don't have a lot of experience with human children, so don't ask me for any kind of insight around that. So, right, like and with kids, you can still communicate with them even if you can't communicate with them through words, right? There's movements, there's sign language, there's communicating with their higher self. Like there's still an ability to communicate even if they don't speak words, just like with our animals. And I'm not saying animal communication's the like animal communication in the like going to an animal communicator kind of the way is the only way to communicate with animals. I mean, I've done podcasts on animal communication. I highly recommend listening to it if you're interested. And if you want to learn, like that's something we can explore together too. And so it doesn't, you having a relationship with your animal to understand what it is that they need in order to be fulfilled and supported is such a deeper and larger conversation than one thing, right? And so starting with one thing, which maybe is movement or maybe it's environment. Where do they like to spend their time? Where do they like to sleep? Right? If you're talking to your dog and they're crate trained and they stay in their crate, it's asking like how do they feel about their crate? How do they feel when they're in their crate? Do they want their crate in a different room? Like, right? There's all these different like you can see how there's so many different questions that we can ask about all the different aspects of their life. And then as you deepen this conversation, you start to have these conversations just like in the midst of life without there having to be this stopping and like very intentional animal communication happening. So I'm so grateful. I just want to make sure there wasn't anything else that he wanted to say. Okay, so he also said, I think it is more common than others think or believe. This happens all the time and no one bats an eye at it. And the ones that suffer or carry the consequences of it are the beings and animals that don't have any control to change their circumstances. So, yes, this is really serious and something that I hope others are able to understand to a deeper extent too. Also, can we just like take a second to say like how wise animals are, right? Like there's so much we can learn from them. And I'm so grateful for all these different messages that come through that just shift perspective so drastically. So I want to thank Elmer for this beautiful message that is so important for all of us to understand. Um, and like I don't know, this just came through too, is especially for rescues, right? And especially for rescues who have a partnership with an animal communicator. Let me tell you, it it was and is actually to a certain extent so hard. I find it wild every time. So hard to offer animal communication to rescues. And I'm not saying this as like a dig at any rescue or shelter or anything like that. I just found it so interesting at the beginning. A couple years, few years, well, multiple years ago at this point, had reached out to a couple of different rescues and offering my services free of charge, just to support the animals who are in rescue to either transition into rescue, understand what's happening, um, understand what they want in their like ideal home, and uh, a lot of them came back and said, "Oh, we already have somebody," which was like incredible. And I have offered. There was one year where I did a lot of readings for one specific rescue. And then from there, it was just like every once in a while, just like from different places. And so if you are a rescue and not you have a rescue animal, if you are a nonprofit 501(c)(3) rescue shelter sanctuary, and you do have animals that you're like, I would love to support, or I would love to have better understanding, I would love to XYZ. I offer sessions to rescues free of charge. You can sign up for them on my website, connected-consciousness.com. It's a form you fill out, and I kind of just fit them in when and where I can. And yeah, I love it. I will say it's really important that when you receive these messages that you acknowledge with the animal that you received it and that you will do whatever you can in order to support them. So it's not saying like, okay, well, they said, you know, they need 10 acres and they need this type of hay and they need it this way and da 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 da. Like, that's not gonna happen. So like, sorry, it's saying like, hey, I hear you, I see you, and like, let's help find you that experience in your new home, right? So it's all a conversation. It's not a one way like, oh, well, now they've said this and I have to do it. It's like, okay, great. Now I know this. How can we continue this conversation in our day-to-day life in order to get to the best point, best place, best point for us that we can get to and like can and then evolve and grow and all the things, right? It's like that's the whole kind of point of it, I think. Well, not for everybody, but so again, thank you to Elmer for bringing all of this up. And if you are interested in an animal communication session, if you are interested in learning how to, or in like remembering how to communicate with animals, if you want to experience a multitude of different things, I have so many different offerings at this point that something likely will support you. So you can check them all out on the website. And if you're just like, I would love to like just be a part of all the things and just like try different things out and see what works, like Reconnect is definitely the place to be. It's the membership that includes all the courses, which are currently 2 courses. And I know there's going to be a third one at some point. Also, there's the Align course that comes with it, depending on, which option you choose, which is the Health and Human Design course that Leah and I put together multiple years ago. There's different videos and media, like there's a whole media library with meditations and workshops and different things. And there's messages from Mama G, and there's a daily unseen messages. There's the moon videos. I mean, it is literally packed full of things. And there's things added, well, daily for the daily message from the unseen, and also weekly in different aspects in different parts of the platform. So, anyway, so grateful. I am happy to be back and having these conversations. And I just find them to be so important. And again, they're things that we just like don't know until we know. And now we get to know. And like how great for all of us, right? So feel free to share this if you were like, yes, I needed to hear this too. And if you have any topics or anything you would love to hear more about, please reach out. You can email me, I'll put it in the show notes. And otherwise, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will talk to you all soon.